All right, let's get to this unboxing that I got this item from eBay. We're going to find out the history about the object, and we're also going to clean it. I'm going to have a lot of issues cleaning it, so maybe you could stick around because you may have a piece of jewelry like this in your collection that you need to know how to clean too. And so I'll actually take one for the team. So if it comes out bad, it comes out bad, and then you learn from my mistake. Wow, wasn't that nice of the seller? They even put a cleaning cloth that I probably can't use, but that's very nice. Look how nicely packaged this was. Now I saw this and I knew I was in for it. This is vintage. Well, it's old. It's antique, actually. And look at the beautiful marcasites. It gives us a clue about the age. And we'll go over the age in a little while. And I'll give you the whole history of these type of pieces of jewelry from the Belle Epoque era. And so we have this cameo. Now, it's actually got 6 shell disease. I don't know if you can see that sort of crap on it or that crud. I'm going to have to try to clean it. Now, I generally wash these in the sink with a little dish detergent. Then I add some food-grade mineral oil to the shell so they don't crack and it stays hydrated. But what happens is when you have marcasites, you have to be very careful you can't wet them because it's pyrite. Basically, it's some kind of iron and it can rust. And you don't want it to rust. And so I'm going to have to like get around this whole entire thing meticulously by hand and polish it. This is sterling silver, I believe. Well, that's what the seller said. Now, what's really cool is it has its original chain. I don't know if you can see this. This rope design was actually popular around the time the cameo was made. It's known as a Prince of Wales chain. It's not just any like rope chain. I'm just going to pull it up closer to show you. Do you see all the little links? It's very fluffy and feathery. And there you go. See that? See all the little links that were put all together to make this beautiful rope chain? Now we have a spring ring, which is evident of the early 20th century and on. 1970s started the lobster claw, although it was invented in the 50s. So we do know that this is an early 20th century piece. Let's flip it over. It's quite large. This is a very big cameo. Generally, you don't see these opulent sizes unless you go way back into the Victorian era. This is probably from the teens. Just about before World War I and probably around the time of World War I, right around there. Think of the Titanic. Think of Rose from the Titanic. Now you can see the 6 shell disease on the back. It's very crusty, and I'm going to have to clean this. Now, is there any markings? I'm going to look it over closely. Do not see any markings. Now, this length of chain is known as the matinee length, which would have been actually hanging in the right spot, just the right spot for the fashion of the day. Now, how do we clean this? Now, generally, a lot of people that have old silver or coin silver, it doesn't even have to be sterling silver, would dip this. You don't want to dip it because the acid will destroy the shell. You have to do this by hand because of the marcasites. The marcasite stones will rust or fall out of the bezel. Now, what's interesting is that a lot of these marcasite pieces were popular during the teens and the 20s and the early 20th century, although it was around even before that, but it really was a big thing in the teens and the 20s. A lot of them were glued in, so you have a chance of losing the stones if you abruptly and harshly rub and clean this. So this is going to be a challenge. Let's get in there. I think it's a prong. I think prongs are actually holding these in. So that would be like possibly a gypsy setting. I don't know. I do see little prongs. You see the little diamond prong right here on the bottom? I don't know if you could see that. It's actually pretty cool that prongs are holding this in. I don't know if one is missing here. If it is, these are very easy to replace. You can actually buy loosies in all different sizes and glue it in. But all right, so what do we do? How do we clean this? How do we clean the shell? So I'm going to get started. I'm going to get all my materials out and we'll discuss this. So the best course of to deal with something like this, I get these toothbrushes on Amazon. They're nano toothbrushes. They're like very, very fine. It's not a heavy scrubbing brush. It's almost like a rabbit fur. It's really soft. All right, so we got that. I get a pack of 24. I get Simichrone. Now the problem is the filigree. If you see we're not going to be able to really get in there since I can't really wash it with a soapy water at the end. So we got our Simichrome, we got our polishing rag. This is the buffing side. And then inside is the polishing side. It does generally come with polish in it, but I notice it's never enough. So what we're going to do is we're also going to get Q-tips because we can't touch the areas with the marcasites with the paste. All right, so the first thing I want to do is I want to place this on something soft so that it doesn't get broken. Because pressing down on it, it puts pressure. Now, I may have erroneously called this a brooch. It is a pendant. Let's just get it. And what I did notice, do you notice something? If you notice, the chain is sparkly. It's much cleaner than the actual pendant. And the reason why is most likely is that the sterling, it's actually marked sterling. I looked at the little clasp with a loop. It's probably rhodium plated. Now, rhodium it's actually more precious than gold, but a lot of the jewelry in the teens and the 20s were plated with rhodium. And rhodium stops the tarnishing. It keeps it from tarnishing. It's a light dusting of it over the silver and sometimes even over white gold. All right, so let's go ahead. Let's get started. So what I want to do is I want to get my Q-tip. I want to start doing around these areas, around the marcasites first, and then I can do my rub. I could do my rub without, getting around these areas. So I'm going to get my Simichrone and my Q-tip over here. I'm going to put just a little bit of the pink stuff, which is absolutely amazing. This stuff is wonder. An actual wonder. I just want to dab it because you don't want a big glop of it because it's going to get inside the filigree and then you won't be able to get it out because you can't wash it. You can't rinse it. So I'm just going to go around these areas and try to get this filth off of it. And I'm going to eventually fast forward as I explain each process to you, and then we'll do a fast forward motion. And you can see the dirt is definitely lifting. So I'm going to go ahead and do that around all the sides right now, and I'll be back. Then we're going to get around here. All right, well, I cleaned as much as I could going around. Now, I'm not even going to bother cleaning the back, except for the shell, front and back. I like the patina, but I just don't like too much grunginess. So I'm just going to put a dab of a little bit of the Simichrone on here, because the reasoning is there's never enough of this paste in here. And you can see the sides are really black. So let's go ahead. I'm just going to dab whatever excess I have going around the bezel. And I'm trying my best not to get it on the Cameo. Do not get it on your Cameo if you can avoid it, because the abrasiveness inside of it could scratch up your Cameo. So as you can see, the cloth is getting black, the tarnish is coming up, and you're going to want to keep moving to a clean spot on your rag, which is very hard to find sometimes when you use the rag a lot, and you can't rewash these rags, which sort of sucks. But let's go ahead. I just have a little too much excess. All right, just going to go around the whole entire piece. Then I'm going to do a dry dusting around the frame, because we want to leave a little bit of the patina inside the grooves to give it that depth. As I go around it, it gets cleaner and cleaner, as you can see. Look at the beautiful coloring of that sterling silver that got cleaned up. Now, we didn't buff it yet. We still didn't buff it. We did not clean the shell. The shell, I usually like to run under lukewarm water, like room temperature, a little warm, not hot, with a little bit of soapy Dawn dish detergent, with a very, very soft bristle brush. But in this case, we can't, because we got the marcasites and they can rust. So we don't want to do that. I'm going around the bezel, not the frame, and trying not to dislodge those stones. And as you can see, my rag is getting filthy dirty, and that just shows you how much age was on this piece. Now, it will retarnish all over again if I leave it out. I'm going to place it in a jewelry box that has special anti-tarnishing strips. So I don't have to do this again anytime soon. So that patina will be quickly back on this piece. So for those of you who are purists, who are saying, why are you doing this? You're ruining the piece. You're taking off its history. It'll be back. Trust me. All right, I didn't even buff it yet, but I just want to show you something to try to get some of the grime out of the marcasites. This is a very, very soft bristle brush. Look at this. Do you see what I mean? Do not use a regular toothbrush. You can use a very soft paintbrush, actually. Just lightly dust it to get the oils and the crust out of there, out of the little setting. But be careful. You don't want to press down too hard, because you might dislodge a stone. And I mean, when you do try to find replacements, they're never the color of the antique ones. All right, so now we have our antique piece. I'm going to buff it. We use this side of the polishing cloth. You can get these on Amazon. And that shines up the metal, makes it much prettier. So I'm just going to go around the bezel and lightly get the frame. Even though it's a gypsy setting, which is a sunken-in type of gem setting, I just don't want to get the gems caught on. I don't want them to get caught onto my cloth here. And I'm just going to go around, give it a little bit of a shine. And you can see some of the filth is still coming off on the buffing side. We're going to leave some of that filth on here. All right, and I'm not going to touch the back. We're going to leave the back as is, and I will show you the difference. You're going to see the difference in a moment. Now, what's beautiful is the chain really doesn't need much. And in this case, I don't have to put paste on it, so I'm going to just dry rub it with my polishing cloth. And you don't want to break the chain, so you got to be very careful. Let me go ahead and get a clean, very hard to find a clean spot on these rags when you use them a lot. I had to get more. And so what I'm going to do is just gently, not pull too hard, because you don't want to dislodge the chain or remove the rhodium plating, the thin rhodium plating. I'm just going to do a little bit here. Just going to, give it a little bit of a rub. And that's it. You just a few times over the cloth, in it like a sandwich, and just go like that. Try to get some of this filth off of here, which is not very much, which is surprising. And I'm just going to pull it through again. One long. There we go. And now I want to get my buffing side. The buffing side always makes metal nice and shiny. And I'm just going to, again, go ahead and do this. I mean, I could clean it with a toothbrush and some dish soap, but I just don't want to do that. This is a very old Prince of Wales style chain. I put some soapy dishwater in a glass. I don't know, can you see that? And I dipped my very soft toothbrush in here. Now, we might get some leakage. It might leak into the frame, but in the inside, we're okay because the marcasites aren't over there. So I'm just going to slightly dab it. We don't want it oversaturated. I'm just going to go in here very gently, and you can see already that nastiness is melting right off. So we're going to go ahead and do that. Now I'm going to get a wet paper towel and just try to get some of this soap off. And I just wet my paper towel, and I'm just going to... Now, the other side, it's going to be hard because we don't want to leak it on the marcasites. And that wouldn't be cool. We also want to oil this shell, and I can do it with a not a toothpick, but a Q-tip. And I'm trying to get as much soap as I can off of this. Look at the filth that just came out of the shell. And, I mean, this is years of nastiness. I want to get a microfiber cloth and try to dry it as much as I can. I'm going in gentle with my finger, not pressing on the shell because the shell could crack. And you can see, look already, look at the beauty. It's like peach blow glass, right? I left some of the crud on the edges. And I got my mineral oil, food grade, and I'm going to actually spray it. Unfortunately, it's in a spray bottle. I'm going to spray it onto my bubble wrap and then dip a Q-tip in there. And I'm going to just lightly coat the shell. Actually, I'll squirt it right here. Okay, see the oil? You don't want to use other kinds of oils. You want to just use this type of oil. Because the thing is that, you know, if you use don't ever use WD-40 or something like that. It's actually solvent. It'll destroy your shell. This is natural. And I'm just blotting the excess. And we're just going to coat now a little bit of that you know, weird, I call it like sick glass syndrome. Glass gets that. It's like almost like buildup, like calcium buildup. I just want to coat this shell as much as I can. I'm going to leave this and let this soak into the shell for a good, probably 15 minutes or so. And then I'm going to take my microfiber cloth and I'm going to buff it gently just to take the excess off. All right, so there we go. I'm going to leave that side. Now we have to clean the other side. And this is not going to be fun because I don't want it to get into the frame. So I'm just going to have to go ahead and get my paper towel and get the excess water off because we don't want it dripping down. I can put a paper towel around this side of the frame. It's just hard to do. All right, so we just want to, you know, try to get this crust and this crud out of the silhouette of the cameo because she wants to be prominent. She wants to be seen again after all these years. I'm just going to come in this way, trying not to get the frame. Now that we have this sort of wet, what I want to do is get my wet paper towel again. And don't use the same one you used before because you're just going to distribute dirt around. So here we go. I'm just going to gently just wipe the surface of the shell with this water. It's just plain tap water. Now, generally, I would be a little bit more thorough with the Dawn dishwashing and under the faucet with the running water, but we can't do this in this situation here. But now we can probably see her profile much better. So now I just want to dry this with the microfiber cloth, and I'm going to pat it. We're going to pat it to dry. And we don't want to rub too much because we don't want to scratch up the cameo. So I'm just going to gently pat it until I feel it's dry enough, and then we're going to introduce the oil. All right, so now I got my oil, and I'm just going to gently rub it over the cameo without trying to get the frame as best as I can. We're going to get into the carving. I'm going to go around the edges of the carving as best as I can. And we're going to get every nook and cranny on this cameo. They crack. You have to worry. They do crack. If they dry out, they crack. You'll see a lot of cameos being sold with cracks and fractures. It is quite common. So now we're going to leave this, again, another 10, 15 minutes or so. Some people like to leave it overnight. I just want to get down to the nitty gritty immediately and don't like to wait. I'm just going to get into the eye area, get into the raised areas as best as I can. All right, I'll be back. All right, now that your cameo has soaked for a good 10, 15 minutes, you want to take your microfiber buffing cloth and you want to dry it. Now, look at this. Look, you see the beautiful mineral oil actually conditioning the shell, which is quite cool. So I'm going to start with the back. And I'm just going to buff. I'm just going to not press hard, nothing. Very light pressure, if any. Zero pressure, mostly. It's just a little rub. And look at that. You see that? Look how nice the shell came out. Now I'm going to do this side. I'm going to find another area on my cloth. And just with no pressure. Just dusting across the top. With no pressure. I am not pressing down at all. I'm just letting my finger weightlessly glide across the cameo. And now I'm going to find another area that is dry, that doesn't have any mineral oil on it. And I'm just going to gently rub in a circular motion, get around the edges, and that should be done. Our cameo, look at that. Look how beautiful the shine is now. The crust is off and we can see her face. So now we have our beautiful cameo that's at least 100, 110, 115 years old with its beautiful chain glistening and sparkling. The shell is now not crusty anymore, and you can see her face. And who is she? Goddess Flora. You can tell by the flowers in her hair, the flowers on her shoulder, and you could tell by the profile that she certainly was a goddess with the roses in the hair. Look at this high relief. Now, the cameo did have a little bit of fractures on the top. That was there from even the making of the carving. You can see it's the width of a carving tool, so that's not necessarily a flaw. But you don't want any more cracks in it. There we go. Look at the high relief. This is high relief. This is actually a huge size for a cameo of that time frame, about 2.5 inches by 1 3/4 inches across, with the beautiful, beautiful Edwardian style frame. Now let's ask AI to tell us more about this piece.
Subject and symbolism. The centerpiece is a high-relief, hand-carved cornelian shell depicting Flora, the Roman goddess of flowers and spring. She is identified by the intricate blossoms carved into her hair and draped across her shoulder, following the romantic Gibson Girl aesthetic of the early 20th century. 2. The frame and mill grain detail. The cameo is housed in a sterling silver frame featuring a delicate filigree design. A key highlight is the mill grain edging, tiny hand-applied silver beads tracing the inner border. This 1,000-grain technique was a hallmark of high-end Edwardian jewelry, creating a shimmering texture that elevates the piece. 3. The Prince of Wales chain. The pendant hangs from an original Prince of Wales style chain. These circular links are intricately twisted to create a sturdy, rope-like appearance. Popular in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, this chain provides the necessary strength and elegance to support a grand-scale pendant. 4. Dating and historical context. Era, circa 1910 to 1918, late Edwardian. Construction. The use of sterling silver, marcasites, and millgrain work was a refined alternative to platinum. It is likely the shell was hand-carved in Italy and set during the World War I years, when gold was reserved for the war effort. 5. High-end retail valuation. For a grand-scale statement piece, 2.5 by 1.75, with an authentic Prince of Wales chain and millgrain detail. Estimated value, $650 to $850. 6. Historical fashion scenario. Imagine a first-class dinner aboard the Titanic in 1912. Before the flapper era, women wore jewelry as a symbol of stately elegance. A woman would wear this grand Flora pendant high on her chest, the chain gleaming against a delicate silk bodice and high lace collars. The shimmering marcasites and millgrain provided a soft, candlelit glow that signaled old money refinement. The sweetheart tradition. As World War I approached, these cameos became sweetheart jewelry. Men gave them to wives and fiancées as portable reminders of their devotion. Unlike a ring, a pendant hung close to the heart, serving as a protective talisman. Because shell cameos are hand-carved, each piece was unique, symbolizing a one-of-a-kind bond. Cameos of the Belle Epoque and Edwardian era were carved with a devotion to the ideal woman, a figure of soft, ethereal beauty and impeccable moral standing. When you look at your pendant, you aren't just seeing a piece of jewelry, you are seeing a standard of grace that the world eventually lost to the roar of the 1920s. The art of classical beauty. In your era, 1900 to 1910, the carvers focused on softness and flow. The features. The nose is typically delicate and slightly upturned. The chin is rounded and soft, and the neck is long and slender, often referred to as a swan neck. The hair Flora is depicted with hair that looks like silk. It is swept up in loose, romantic waves that suggest she has just stepped out of a classical painting. There are no harsh lines. Every curve of the shell is meant to evoke a sense of calm and well-mannered dignity. The ornamentation, the addition of flowers in her hair and on her bodice, emphasizes her connection to nature and growth, rather than the industrial or mechanical feel of the later years. The harshness of the flapper era. By the time the Art Deco era took hold, the pretty lady was replaced by the modern woman. The difference in the cameos is striking. 1. The bob versus the wave. The soft flowing hair of your Flora was chopped away. Flapper cameos feature the bob or the Eton crop, which was a very short, almost masculine hairstyle. It lacked the romantic femininity of the earlier era. 2. Angular features Art Deco carvings became more geometric. The faces lost that porcelain softness and became sharper, with heavier brows and a more defiant, tough expression. 3. The silhouette. While your pendant celebrates the curves and lace of a lady, the 1920s pieces often showed women in flat-chested, straight-line clothing that sought to hide a woman's natural form rather than celebrate it. Manners carved in stone. The Belle Epoque cameo represented a woman who was the heart of the home. She was educated in the arts, spoke with a gentle tone, and wore jewelry that was a symbol of her virtue. A man giving this cameo to his sweetheart was saying, "I see you as a goddess of grace." The flapper, by comparison, was a rebel. She wore her jewelry to the jazz club and the speakeasy. Her cameos reflected her desire to be one of the boys, trading the soft, floral refinement of your era for a look that was intentionally sharp, cold, and unladylike by the standards of 1910.
Thanks so much for joining me. Did you learn anything? If you have a vintage or antique cameo in your collection, did it help you to know how to clean your cameo? Write a 1 in the comments below if this video has helped you. We learned about the time frame, about this style of jewelry, the Titanic era of jewelry. And so stay tuned. And if you haven't already, please follow me, hit the thumbs up, and I'll see you guys all in the next lesson about antiques, jewelry, and other vintage and antique collectibles.